Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Tattoo Homewreckers, a podcast where we talk about tattoos, life, and everything in between. My name is Callista, and this is
Gaia.
And we are so happy to be back and better than ever.
Yeah, I'll just start with, please. Thank you for your patience, for everyone that listens to us, on a timeline. You'll notice that we were gone last week. It's simply because we were tired.
Yeah.
We were exhausted from travel and then, trying to produce content. And, you've been massively bogged down with reels.
Yes.
So we were just in a place where neither one of us could sit down and do this podcast and be able to, deliver what we want to deliver. And to do it without, really just emotionally harming ourselves.
Yes. And to be honest, I'm still feeling quite guilty about it. I don't know about yourself.
I am as well.
So we're still kind of processing that. But, we came across some very wise knowledge from other people who do podcasts that, we figured that you guys also felt the same way. Our audience doesn't want us to suffer while we create these things. And honestly, I feel a lot more connected to you guys when we are recharged and happy and actually ready to create. Because last week I was at 2%. I just couldn't do it, and I felt really guilty. But and Gaia is really good at rallying. She can rally throughout any situation, but I just couldn't do it. I was like, dude, I gotta skip.
And I tried to grab Caboose to just do an episode with the two of us, and he was also at 2%.
Yeah.
And then it made me realize that I do not have to always rally, that we can take breaks, that I too also need to be able to take a break.
Yeah, which is a win.
So that was a big personal win for me to be able to be wow, they don't need you to pick up the slack. Because I did try to figure out how to format an episode where it was just me talking. But then I was also that'd be a weird fucking episode. I was at that point, it's just story time with Lou.
Right, absolutely. And I'm sure people would love to hear it, but also it was really important that you got some rest as well. Yes. I think it's a good reminder because Gaia is much like a shark. They sleep in motion, right?
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And so sometimes, the other fishies, aka me and Caboose, me as the, what did I say? I can't be a starfish, but a seahorse, and Caboose is whatever fish.
Starfish is not a fish.
Fucking Christ. Again with the debate. But it was good to take a break, and I feel so much more recharged and happy and ready to talk to you guys. And I also just wanted to give a huge thank you to all of our listeners, because we've had a lot of feedback about our podcast.
Over the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, and I'm getting teary-eyed thinking about it. But thank you guys for listening. It's still, I don't know about you, but it's weird to think that people listen.
It never, I feel bad because people tell me, when clients come in, or I'll get a message and someone's like, oh, I listen here. I'm getting teary-eyed too.
Me too.
Also, just spoiler warning, we're going to cry this episode.
Oh, for sure. A lot.
We're talking about some heavy stuff today after we just give acknowledgement for you guys. But yeah, we had a client that was talking, or more accurately, who's your client?
Right.
He's someone that listens to podcasts, and he was talking about how he has conversations with the episodes. And he's not the first person that said that.
Yeah.
But when he said, and I kind of brushed it off because I'm not particularly good at taking compliments, but we learned why this week. So I'll share that with you guys.
Delve into that.
And he was saying how he has conversations with the, when he listens to episodes, and was talking about how great that is and how impressive that is. See me trying to minimize? I'm trying to go great and not say impressive, because he said impressive.
Right. I'm proud of you.
The fact that we create that sort of engagement where people do speak back, because when he said that to me, I very much just brushed it off. I was like, oh yeah, we've heard that a couple times. And then I started sitting with that when I started uncovering why I'm not good at taking compliments.
Yes.
And I was like, wow, that really is special, because, he was vulnerable in telling us this, but did not let me get off with brushing it under. He's like, no, that's awesome that you guys have this engagement while people are listening to it. And I listen to podcasts a lot. So then I was thinking about that, how there are ones that I do particularly engage with.
Yes.
And I feel like I know these people and how amazing that is. And so, yeah, we just wanted to give thanks for everyone who does this with us, because she's sobbing over here.
I am. I'm just silently weeping because I'm overwhelmed with gratitude. You guys are great, and I feel so connected to you guys. And thank you again for just listening to us talk about our journeys, ramble on. Our chaotic episodes are very different from our deeper episodes. Don't mind me. I'm just wiping away my tears. But yeah, really thank you guys so fucking much.
Because you had someone too that felt like seen and heard in an episode.
Yes. She pointed out that our Pressure to Be Femme episode really meant a lot to her. And she got teary-eyed while I was tattooing her, and it was just so special. And I'm so grateful because I had no idea when we were going to start a podcast how special it was going to be. Like, I knew it was going to be special to us, but the fact that it reaches out to you guys really means a lot. So
we've been talking about it a lot this week, and for me it meant so much, like taking this week off to really like I felt guilty and I felt really bad, like
me
not
too.
And I really meant to like go onto our social media and just apologize. And then I couldn't, the moment I realized I too was allowed to take a breath and a break, I just couldn't muster the like words to be like, hey, we're just going to take this week off. We'll be back next week.
Right.
And I realized that I wanted to do it in this format. Like I wanted to just be able to talk to you on our platform, like where we talk to you and communicate.
Yeah.
And we were talking about like how for me, these conversations that people have with us about like, hey, that really helped me was my entire reason why we started like, or why I wanted to start a podcast, was not because I thought that people wanted to fucking hear me talk or that I had anything really like important to say. But it was just because I wanted to like have different relationships and connections with people.
Yeah.
And then I thought that creating this platform would allow people to engage with us in a different way and start new friendships and new relationships and new connections that we otherwise wouldn't have. And it's done exactly that.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, which is amazing because and this is when I tear up, because that's like the reason that I do everything, is to be able to build those connections with people. So for everyone that like reaches out and tells us about the episodes, I'm really sorry that I'm not good at taking that compliment, but deep down, I very much like love it. And it's the reason why we do this.
Yes. We love you guys.
And you should tell them your reason why, because yours is way funnier than mine. And no, that's the first tier.
That's the first one. I've been silently weeping this entire time.
I think that's the first time I've ever had on the actual episode.
Hooray! We finally broke the seal.
Yep.
Well, I mean, what an episode to do it on. But my reasoning why, oddly enough, I just had a calling to do an episode. It was weird that like knowing had told me like, oh, I really want to do this. And I really didn't know why. Mostly because I thought it would be entertaining, and I've always gravitated towards creating content and YouTube because I like grew up with that. I grew up with creators on the internet. And I felt like we could make something of substance. And I felt like we could, make connections. But, you know, when we first started, I'm not going to lie, I was like, oh, fuck, like, I think I might have bit off more than I can chew. This is so much more of an authentic experience. You guys, I like with every other social media, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, it's curated. You can still somewhat control the outcome of how people perceive you. But with a podcast, it is 100% authentic, and we stumble, and you guys still listen.
I think for us, it's 100% because you can definitely do a curated.
True.
But we went into this saying no cuts, no edits, no nothing. Like we sit down, we talk, and whatever comes out, comes out. And don't get me wrong, there has definitely been numerous vulnerability hangovers. And
oh, absolutely.
As we get into this episode, which will probably honestly be a two-parter, because we're going to talk about narcissism and all these things.
Right.
There's going to be a big vulnerability hangover because I'm going to talk about my family and my past,
and I'm going to talk about my recent experiences, and sure, like part of my family as well. And I think it's been an episode that we've been meaning to make, but now we're finally warmed up to it.
Yeah. And now I feel like I have a better grasp on the subject matter and like the basic information to give like proper examples and definitions, because I didn't want to come on a podcast and say, hey, let's talk about narcissism.
Right.
And then just like fucking get it wrong or like mislead people.
Absolutely.
So, and just to be clear, there's also been a fear of like retaliation, and we'll talk about like
which is
flying
huge.
monkeys and all of that in a minute, which has also been like a hesitation. But we've had a lot of like growth, at least I have.
Me too.
Lately, in like feeling really secure in our community and like in you guys, for everyone who listens and watches, and also like in our friendships, that I realized that like whatever retaliation may happen, and it may not, which would be awesome if it didn't.
That'd be great. Best case scenario.
But if it does, I know that no matter what is thrown at me, I am in a safe space of like love and caring, and that people who see me and know me for who I am will not believe the lies, or even if it's true and it's like, yeah, you did some shitty shit before, and I'll probably honestly do some shitty stuff throughout my whole life because people are, not perfect, that you guys will love me through that. And though you'll hold me accountable for it, you'll still understand that that's part of it. So now that fear of like, well, if, someone lies about me, or if someone like says some terrible things that I have done, then I will be lost and I will lose everyone that I love. And that's no longer there.
Yeah.
So.
We've created some rock solid foundations. And again, we would like to thank you guys for being a huge part of that. So this episode's going to be a hard one.
Yeah.
I'm already, crying thinking about it.
Oh, my nose is running. I've got my like security poncho.
Blanket. I know I've got my dad's Patagonia pullover on because it's now a comfort item. But yeah, today we're going to talk about narcissism, and we're going to delve deep into some new wounds casted, some old wounds casted, some continuous wounds, because like either way, a wound's a wound and it is continuous, and how goddamn, like narcissism is something that is a lot more common than you would think.
Yeah.
We fell down the rabbit hole recently.
We absolutely did. You on YouTube.
Me on YouTube, yes.
With
Dr. Romani. Shout out to Dr. Romani. You've changed my fucking life. I like completely just absorbed and like ate up so many hours of her content because it has helped so much. And then
I feel like Dr. Romani talks, I mean, obviously she covers all of narcissism, but I felt like a lot of her were on like romantic relationships,
yes,
which was like really applicable to like
absolutely
you. And then I fell down the rabbit hole of the Insight podcast. Yes. And don't worry, we'll put all of our like sources and everything in the show notes. And it's Helen and Katie, and they are phenomenal. One is English, one is Irish, so like that already helps me feel more connected.
Yes.
And they talk a lot about like family like origin issues, and like, don't get me wrong, I also used to fucking be like, oh my god, why does it all have to do with your childhood? But then they explain it in such a beautiful way about it being that your first connections are built in childhood with your caregivers, and so you build all other connections off of that until you can like see and reprogram and such. So it's been like really illuminating for me of seeing where I've done a lot of the work on coming from a abusive household and a toxic household. And it took me a very long time to get to the point where I could say abuse. I used to just very much brush it off. But like doing the work, though it sucks and it's painful through, helps a lot. And like the Insight podcast, and she's like, they're big on TikTok. Like they're phenomenal. I highly recommend that podcast.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it has been so enlightening, and we've both been through like a really huge growth cycle because of it, just understanding the science of it. And we just wanted to share that knowledge with you guys for anyone who could unknowingly be suffering in a narcissistic relationship with family or with a friend, or in my case, a more like romantic / like situationship era. Because, I mean, for those of you who don't know, the whole situationship is a new term, kind of regarding like a friends with benefits situation, or just like something in the gray between that, where it's not like actually official dating, but it's not, I don't know, it's hard to describe.
No,
That's why
that makes complete sense.
Exactly.
Like friends with benefits, or like
anything in that realm.
Not dating, but we're like seeing each other, we're talking, all of that.
Yes, exactly. And I think when it comes to family of origin, I mean, we should probably talk, who wants to start first? Family of origin, or would you like to talk about the more recent?
I honestly think it's good to start with the more recent.
Okay.
And because then it leads into the fact that like you get into these recent wounds because of family of origin.
Yes. Oh,
and
my
that's
God.
been really big, is like learning like our roles in our lack of boundaries.
Yes.
And like how this stems from childhood.
Absolutely. So we can start with more recent. Recently, I was involved with a situationship with a man who I would consider a narcissist. And the reason why I had finally found this out, as if like the red flags weren't enough, like the emotional abuse that was happening wasn't enough. I had just left this like situationship feeling completely drained of all my confidence. And at first I didn't know why. I thought maybe like I did the stereotypical like child of abuse thing, gaslight yourself into thinking that like maybe I'm being too sensitive. And like come to terms with the fact that like, I don't know, I felt my life force being drained.
And as someone who saw it from the sidelines, like it was absolutely that.
Yeah.
Like, and like, here's the thing. We're, just to make it really clear, we can't diagnose someone as a narcissist. So we're not doing that.
Yes.
We are just saying based off of all that we've learned and like all that I have like learned over the years, and just the amount of correlation between like everything that's out there and the direct behaviors and the direct language, it very much lines up. And so we are also here to like talk about that, but also to recognize that like we are part of this problem because we too participate. And that's where we'll get into like the lack of boundaries. I just want to make it clear so no one's out there like, oh my God,
you can't diagnose someone like,
and like you can't say this stuff. And that like when we say abuse, we mean abuse in a very like strong sense, not in like a flippant like, oh yeah, you know, mom was mean to you when you were little or your dad ignored you, like anything like that where it seems like really flippant. Like if you listen to Dr. Romney's also really strong on this of like, look, if you were a latchkey kid and like your parents did not give a fuck about your feelings, that doesn't make it okay.
Absolutely.
It doesn't, just because an entire generation went through that does not mean it's not abuse.
Absolutely.
And they talk about that a lot on the Insight podcast. So if it's really triggering hearing us say that, I would sit with why that's triggering for you and also just educate yourself more. Because I too used to be like, no, it's not. Like, stop being so dramatic. And then I learned a lot more. And I was like, nope, this is it. Like you have to call a spade in order to start healing.
Absolutely. And I think that's the hardest part about the research that we've been doing so far is because both you and I have a core belief that all people are inherently good. And so that was I think the roughest part about like both the Insight podcasts and Dr. Romney's YouTube videos is the fact that a lot of the times someone who is or suffering from like narcissistic tendencies knows what they're doing. And that goes against like everything that we believe.
Can I give a side note to that?
Absolutely.
The reason they know what they're doing is because they know it works. That's why they keep doing it. And
exactly. Like, they might not know that it's abuse per se.
But they know that like gaslighting you. And Dr. Romney has like a video on it and it explains it so well about the difference between like catching a liar and a lie is if you say, hey, no, that's not true. Here's the evidence. And you present them with the evidence.
Right.
Or when you catch a narcissist in a lie and they gaslight you and they will flip it around to turn it on you, that you can give them hard evidence of like, this is your lie. I caught you. Here's the evidence. Right. And then they say, oh, you must be crazy that you would question me, that you feel the need to try to prove me wrong. So they flip it back on you. And that's the difference is that like they will either stonewall you, which means that they are invalidating your feelings, or they make you feel crazy and belittled. And then when you are raised in an environment in which you are not taught to trust your emotions, you believe that. So you believe whatever they are telling you, which is also where like we recognize that both of us have this inherent belief that all people are good, which is also, side note, part of that like narcissistic like programming from childhood, is that we are the problem, which also goes back to that blamable face episode. So like there's a lot to unpack here, but sorry, I didn't mean to like steal that from you.
I'm so happy you did.
I just wanted to give like definitions in there.
You did not steal it from me because I do need help like breaking it down because it is hard I'm acknowledging that it might be hard for our viewers to like kind of understand where I'm coming from because I'm still very much dealing with processing this ending of a situationship. I'm now in the cycle where I'm getting horrible, horrible nightmares about it, which is terrifying because I don't dream very often. And it's not so much that this person he was never like physically abusive or anything like that, but that's the shit that really does get to me. Again, pointing to like family of origin is that the mental games or the mental and psychological effects that these people have. And I guess I just wanted to talk about this just in hopes that, like, if you feel like you're in a narcissistic relationship, there are so many outlets and ways to help kind of cope with that if you're not ready to leave. And we are not advocating, though I am a person that I have been fortunate enough to put it in a position where I am able to remove people from my life and not have to maintain these toxic relationships. Right. I was 30 before I was able to leave. Yeah. So there are lots of tools. And like I said, they'll be in the show notes of if you have to stay, these are the ways to like cope with that. Yes. Because I could have fucking done with that the first 30 years of my life. Absolutely. So yeah, this is meant to be not hey, we're like casting like people in bad light, which is why we're really careful about our language. Yes. Thank you for saying that. But also that this is meant to be a resource for people and also just have a little bit of understanding because we all saw that something was wrong. But I also believe that it's not my right to step in on any of your relationships. You didn't. So I just have to be there for you when you come out the other side. Absolutely. And I want to make it very clear because apparently this has been an issue before that a lot of people think that I can't make my own decisions. No, I am an adult. And also my friends are very respectful and will 100% let me come to my own conclusions. And whether or not those conclusions are something they agree with doesn't matter. They let me come to my own conclusions and let me make my own decisions as healthy relationships do. Yeah. And so I just kind of want to talk about like the cycle real fast. Something that Dr. Ramani had said was basically there's like 5 steps of like a narcissistic, like kind of romantic relationship. And the first one would be like love bombing, right? So it's like everything's going well. It's fantastic. You have this person's attention. They make you feel good. Everything's awesome. And then the next step is invalidation, which is something that happened to me where all of my core beliefs were pretty much invalidated. My career path was attacked. My personal appearance was attacked. And then after that comes devaluation. So not only was I questioning all of my career choices and my life choices and the way that I look, the devaluation was the fact that like, well, I mean, but you would be good at anything that you set your mind to. Nonetheless, tattooing is apparently not an option in that whole realm of you would be good at everything, but pursuing different career paths like going into law or culinary school was. And the whole, I got told that like, you know, heavily tattooed people aren't very attractive and my whole goal is to be heavily tattooed. I've known since I was a little girl that I wanted to be heavily covered. And then after devaluation comes the casting away. So basically setting aside this person. And this would happen a lot where I would either disagree with this person or I would set a boundary and I'd say, no, I can't hang out. And then I wouldn't be talked to for like a day. And as someone who kind of has like this, like, at first I was like, okay, well, you know what? We're not like officially together. So whatever he does is his business. That's fine. But I didn't realize like the chemistry, the brain chemistry that happens when you get flooded with these like, you know, happy hormones and then you get flooded with cortisol, that stress of like, oh my God, did I do something wrong? And as someone who is like a recovering people pleaser, it works. Yeah. It absolutely works. You get that stress of like, oh my God, did I do something wrong? And just to be clear, that once again, that difference between like, it's really, in the beginning, it's really easy to think that like everyone is like love bombing you because people get excited. Right. And there is a very big difference between like when a narcissist love bombs you because they're doing it to set you up for this cycle because they know what they're doing. And the reason I'm going to keep repeating that is because that's something we are very much struggling with. Yes, very much so.
and I'll go into like the family of origin of why we struggle with that so much, but that they're aware that when they punish you with ignoring you, they know that that is effective for them to get what they want.
Yeah.
There's a very different thing between like being passive aggressive, which we'll probably end up touching on next episode.
For sure.
Because that's fucking fascinating. But it's very different when you tell someone like, hey, when you ignore me, it hurts my feelings.
Yeah.
And when you explain your boundaries and people respect your boundaries. And so I just want to make that really clear that like, also, when you said a day, some people will be like, well, a day is not really long. But when you've been in constant communication with someone, when you've been love bombed by them,
right,
a day is a really long time. So imagine if your husband or like wife, like, or your kids or anyone, your parent just doesn't talk to you for a day.
Yes.
That is really painful when you have developed a constant communication with this person. And that's also why they try to stay in constant communication with you.
Right.
Okay, sorry.
No, thank you.
Just adding little like sidebars.
I need someone to not be emotional while I tell this story. So thank you so much.
I can be somewhat not emotional while you tell the story. And then when I start talking, you'll have to.
I got you. Well, yeah.
Yeah, we're just going to trade off tears here.
Absolutely. So yeah, there's the casting away, which is incredibly effective. And that was something huge in my childhood. And again, when it comes to the casting away, there's something that happens when cortisol is released into your system. Your brain also releases a little bit of dopamine. So when people ask me, like, why do you stay? Like, why? Like, you're constantly stressed, or like you have this like look on your face when you get this text message from this person, and like I can tell it's painful. And like whenever you have to say no to this person, it's always a fucking thing. So like, why do you stay? It's because I got addicted to that fucking cortisol, and we'll touch base on that. It's called a trauma bond.
Yeah.
It's awful. So after the casting away, the next step that comes in is hoovering, which is the whole like, oh, I didn't know what I had. Like, I appreciate you so much. All of a sudden they start like essentially baiting you again. Once you leave, they'll start hoovering, and that's the like, let me get you back kind of situation. And then this cycle repeats itself. And that is what a trauma bond is, which is super painful because I, again, it's shaking the core belief of like, people don't know that they're being manipulative, or people don't know that this blah, 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 blah. But they do know that these tactics fucking work. And unfortunately, when it comes to people like us who come from a childhood of this systemic abuse. Yeah.
This generational trauma of this generational abuse.
Absolutely.
That is how we're raised, is that if you do not comply, you are ignored, you are silenced. Like, you are told that your emotions are wrong. In my case, you're told that your memories are wrong.
Yeah. The compliance and the performing. Huge.
Yep.
Huge. You have to perform well and to the standard of
and you have to look
person.
a specific way.
Look a specific way. You have to say yes, because I can't tell you how many times I've been like, no, I can't come over. And then I'd get convinced because, again, I personally have realized that like I have little to no boundaries when it comes to intimate relationships, and that puts me in really dangerous positions. Yeah. So therefore I'm taking a break. And that's already painful enough as it is. But yeah, I guess the whole reason why we're still talking about this is because I want people that I care about, aka our listeners, to really digest and think about the connections they make with people. Yeah. Because that was the big takeaway I got from this whole experience was, yes, a trauma bond, it is still a connection. You can't deny that. However, is it a good connection? No. So, something in Dr. Ramani that said that really like struck a chord with me is the fact that when you are dating or when you're making friendships or blah, 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 just making connections with people, you have to ask yourself, what makes me feel safe? Which is hard because not a lot of people will do things that fall into that realm. And what is a story that they are telling me about themselves? Like their actions, a lot of the times we will try to build connections to try to connect us with their actions.
That's what we're really bad at. Is filling in those stories.
Yep. And have us as a puzzle piece fit into their story. However, no. Take their story as is, remove yourself from it, and actually read the fucking story.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the times I think it will show you whether or not this person is actually has good intentions for you and actually makes you feel safe. I think a lot of the times we look for green flags and we don't pay attention to the fucking red flags that are right in front of us.
Yeah.
And that was my big takeaway.
You had said something about not being able to specify something about an individual that you're attracted to. Do you remember what you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah.
So Dr. Romani, what really struck a chord with me as well, when she talks about her clients who have trauma bonds with people, she'll ask them, okay, what is it about this person that you're attracted to? And a lot of the times people can give you an honest answer. But with people who are trauma bonded, oh, I'm so guilty of this, their only answer is, I don't know. Like, it's just something's different about them. We have this like chemistry, this connection, like it's just so strong. And what you're describing is the fucking trauma bond. You're not even describing the person at that point, because that person doesn't make you feel good. It's just the trauma bond, that, you know, addiction to the cortisol and the dopamine rush that you get that you're describing. So that was painful, because I said, uh-oh, that was me. You've heard me say it before. Yeah. Because whenever people are like, why? Like, why do you keep going back? Like, why do you keep, like, entertaining this person? That was literally my answer. You just posted a really good, I think it was a TikTok. Yeah. I also just love, I have to just say, I love this generation for putting mental health stuff on the internet. And making content out of it.
Yeah, and making content and, like, talking about these things that... Just to be clear, I don't think that, like, our parents tried to hide these things. I think that we just didn't have the science that we had then.
The science and the platform, too.
Yeah, and we didn't have the platform. So I'm not saying, like, this generation is more sensitive or any of that. Like, and I have previously said that. But, like, the more I learn, the more I'm realizing that, like, those opinions are wrong. And that, like, we just need more language. Yeah. And, like, now we're able to get more language.
Absolutely. And it's beautiful. So. And I think that a lot of people will go ahead and try to devalue what people on TikTok say or what people on Instagram say or whatever, just because it's on social media. But I would love to remind you guys that social media is what you make of it. And sure, there's a lot of things that, like, obviously you don't want to add a narrative in that can't be applicable to you. And I feel like that's where kind of there's that gray line with young people, is that they will take that and, again, try to puzzle piece it into their story instead of actually digest the story and kind of compartmentalize themselves from it and then try to make that connection. But either way, it's a really good resource. But I think that's that bid
for connection that all human beings do, where we try to, like, see where we fit in that story. And I definitely don't think it's a young person thing. I think it's just, like,
a human thing.
A human thing that we try to see, like, where we fit in to a story, and then to build those similarities, as opposed to being like, hey, let your story be your story. My story is my story. And then we can, like, let me wholly listen to yours before I put myself in your story.
Absolutely.
But yeah, you had said something about, which I thought this was amazing, because it's a really, I personally think it's a really easy way to, like, judge your relationship if you're like, fuck, I'm not sure. And it was the TikTok that you shared about.
Yeah. I shared a TikTok that was like, just so you know, if you are in a relationship with someone that you wholly love and you care for and you love deeply, but all of your family and your friends are telling you that, like, I don't know, something is wrong. It seems like a little bit toxic. There's just something off here. You are not in the right relationship. Just point blank. The second that you have to start lying to people as well about, like, how things are going or what this person's saying to you or what they've done to you, you gotta go. And this is, I'm speaking from a place of, like, I'm dealing with a lot of nightmares right now. Can't sleep. I'm going through straight up withdrawals. It is really hard, and it's going to be really hard, but you're not alone.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're not in the right relationship.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, something that's been ringing in my mind is the whole, like, oh, well, what have you been telling them? Because that was his reaction. Like, which is bad.
So, as someone who heard that narrative my whole life, and we'll dive into that because we're getting to kind of a wrappy up point, is when they question what it is you're saying about them to other people, that right there is a huge red flag.
Huge.
Because when you are in safe relationships, like, I don't worry about what she says about me. I don't worry about like what my husband says about me. The same client that talked about having a connection with our podcast was talking about how like our, relationship is like all of us together and like the three of us and like that friendship and like what dating is like for you.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, I'm assuming you have a good marriage. And once again, I deflected because that's a really hard thing for me to admit. So we'll dig deeper into that later. But he was like, because I hear you talk about him and you have like, it just sounds like you really like love each other and you have a good relationship. Yep. And he's like, and I mean, I don't know what he says about you. And I like sat with that for a minute and I thought about the fact that I'm like, I know that he says good things. I know that you say good things. And I also know that like you vent about me because that would be fucking weird if you didn't. But when they're questioning about, well, what are you saying to other people about me? That means that person, that's like not a safe relationship. Yes. Because if you went out and talked about me to people, because we have built the safety that like, I mean, fuck, not to make this about me, but like Caboose last night had like a realization because we got into like I wouldn't say an argument. We were just like talking. Yeah.
A good discussion.
Yeah, a good discussion. And he was like, well, it's hard because your tone. And then he was like, this is going to sound really like mean. And I was like, my tone is like harsh, abrupt, like painful to like hear sometimes. I was like, I know this about me. And so when you are in a healthy relationship with someone, and I had to tell him like, you're allowed to say this. Like, I'm aware that I can be a lot and that my tone can be very aggressive. And safe relationships encourage that. Yeah. Toxic relationships don't. Toxic relationships are, you are not allowed to question me. And healthy relationships say, question me, because that helps me.
Give me feedback.
Yeah, give me feedback. That helps me learn about myself. And that also helps me feel more connected with you so I can figure out what I am not giving in this relationship. Yep. Not to abandon yourself, but to help this person understand you better and so you can understand them. And so that way, like, yeah, I do the thing all the time where I say this is going to be mean because I don't know the nice way to say stuff a lot.
Yeah, and I think it's a great conversational opener because it's never mean, but I get what you mean when you're like, okay, I am going to stumble through this. Like, I don't know how else to say it, but the way I'm going to say it.
Yeah. And but I've learned that through getting feedback from people. And like, that's what a healthy relationship looks like, is giving this person space to talk about you however they want to talk about you. And if they start being like, well, what are you telling your friends? Bro, fucking either build some hardcore boundaries with that person, or if you have the opportunity, dip. Because that's the one big thing that we did learn about narcissism, is that they won't get better. And as people that believe that people inherently can get better,
biggest core value, yep.
And like I said, we'll dig into that when it gets to the like trauma, of childhood, and we'll talk a little bit about that in our next episode. But that is a very painful thing, but also it's true. Yeah. All the science shows it. All the fucking professionals that work in this realm have the same narrative. And
all the therapists who have worked with narcissists have said it.
That like, look, you might be able to change their behavior. So like, I think the example that Dr. Romney uses is like, we can teach a narcissist to get to a meeting on time because they know that society deems it polite for them to get to a meeting on time, but we can't teach a narcissist to listen and to care about that meeting. And that for me was a big awakening, and it's still really painful. But that's the thing, is that this person isn't going to change. So you then have to build in those boundaries within yourself. Yeah. And like on Insight, they talk all the time, and Dr. Romney talks about this too, is that killing the hope that this person is going to get better. Yeah. And allowing yourself to grieve that, because it is a massive loss. And like, that's where you are right now. Yes. That's where I am right now. Is grieving that loss of what you hoped this person could be. Absolutely. And no longer thinking you can fix them. and that they will change for you, because they won't. And I know it sounds harsh, but also it's true.
Yeah. And I encourage you guys to check out Dr. Romani on YouTube, because if you are in a marriage, or if you're entangled with this person financially, or if you have a kid together, she's very big on making sure that you know that there are still resources for you. Of course, like in a perfect situation, you'd be able to leave this person, but we all know that life isn't as is. And I'm lucky enough to have a support system that's fucking rock solid. And even in times where I've thought that maybe I should lie to them about where I'm going or what I'm doing with this person, I've been honest. I'm like, yeah, I was going to lie to you guys, but then I realized, like, why? Honestly, like, I trust my people to know when something's going to be wrong, and also it holds me accountable. But again, like I said, if you get to a point where you feel like you need to lie to your loved ones about what's happening, I would definitely check out these resources. Get help if you can, and just know that you're not alone, because it is very much, when you are separating from this person, Dr. Romani is very clear, it is quite literally like going through withdrawals from drug use.
And they don't make it easy either.
No, it's going to be a battle, and it shouldn't deter you guys. Like I said, you are not fucking alone. There are people out there who are going through it. Shit, I'm going through it. That's why we're going through this episode. You're going through it. We are here for you. And there's a whole plethora of, just resources. And I wanted to share that with you guys.
Yeah.
But we are getting close on time.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to record the next episode, because hopefully I won't be crying this much, but we'll see. But our next episode is also going to be on narcissism, but now going into basically what happens in childhood when you've been exposed to stuff like that as a young kid.
Yeah.
Being.
So on that note, just know that we love you, and thank you for being you, for listening to us, and for your feedback. And just thank you.
Thank you. We love you guys so much. Yeah. We should end it off on, like, what was your win this week? Just really quick.
Yeah. We got this from Insight.
Yes.
Because I love it. So my win this week was that I rested. That I did not rally. I did not do an episode by myself. I did not force you and Caboose to do an episode. I rested, and I let you guys rest. And I saw the positive in that, because it gave me space to, like, understand that I don't always have to be a shark.
Fucking teamwork, dude.
That sometimes I too can be a starfish.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And what was your win?
My win this week was reminding myself that everything that happens to me, I fucking own, and I can talk about it, because fuck the people who try to silence you. Again, if it happened to you, you fucking own that story. Yeah. And if you want to tell it on your own time, please tell it at your own time, but never feel pressure to not fucking say your story, because it's fucking important. There are people out there that need to hear it, that want to hear it. And I'm happy that we shared everything that we shared today. So that's my win this week.
Okay, guys, we love you. Bye.
See ya.